What is going on, everybody? This is your favorite everything. This is JR Wisdom once again with another episode of the Atlanta Noire podcast. And today, guys, I got a special guest, a young lady here in the city of Atlanta. She just recently went viral from a post that was made, and we have her on the show. We're about to get a background on her and her story and what exactly happened. So without further ado, go ahead and introduce this lovely young lady, Mia Ward. How are you doing this evening, Mia?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Oh, it's
Thank you so much for having me.
For sure. It's the greatest day of my life. How was the drive over here?
Oh, easy. Not too bad in Atlanta traffic.
Not too bad. Okay, and how long have you been in Atlanta?
So I've lived in Atlanta for 25 years.
Okay.
So I'm originally from Des Moines, Iowa. I know this is a shocker, but they do have Black people in Iowa. There's a lot of us there.
Yeah.
So I've been here for 25 years. So Atlanta is my home, but I'm definitely a Midwest girl. Love my Midwest roots for sure.
Is your family originally from Iowa, or did they migrate there? How did that happen?
No, so it's very interesting because both of my parents are actually from the South.
Okay.
So my mother and father are both from Louisiana.
Okay.
And in the 70s, my father was doing construction. And so it was better for him as being African-American male. So he moved up to Iowa.
Okay.
And so me and my sister just happened to be born there because that's where business was for him.
Got you. So for the people who are from the boot, what part of Louisiana are they from?
So it's a very small town,
Yeah.
not from New Orleans or anything like that. So he's an hour away from Shreveport, Louisiana. So he's in Cutland, Louisiana.
Cutland.
And my mom was born in Fayetteville or Faraday, something like that. Very small town.
So this is the western part of Louisiana?
Yes.
Yeah, because I think, Shreveport is right on the border, right?
Exactly.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, exactly.
For all the folks from Louisiana, I know I got a lot of viewers, and people be thinking that I'm from Louisiana, but...
You kind of got it.
I don't know why everybody except for people from, I've had a few people from Louisiana. I asked me if I was from Louisiana, but like, nah, I need to make it there one day for sure.
You've never been to Louisiana?
I've been to Louisiana to Fort Polk, which is in Leesville.
Okay.
I don't know if you heard of that. Leesville, again, is a small military town.
Yeah.
Fort Polk is, it is what it is, but I guess it's not far from Alexandria, an hour from Alexandria.
If you've never been to New Orleans, you have not lived.
Yeah.
So
I gotta go.
You gotta do New Orleans and do it right.
For sure. I'm definitely gonna do that. So what was it like? I know you said there's a lot of Black folks up in Iowa, Des Moines. What was it like growing up in Iowa?
So it's not what a lot of people think. Most people think that I lived on a farm. Did not live on a farm. I lived in the city. I lived in the suburbs. So yeah, it was very different, but it was a big diversity. I had Black friends, I had white friends, I had Mexican friends, I had Laotian. It was a variety of people.
It's funny you said Laotian.
Yeah, a lot of people don't even know. They're like, who? I'm like,
my ex-wife is Laotian.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Funny enough.
Very good people. Very good people. Yeah, so I grew up in Des Moines, which is the capital, very diverse. I had every race, color, friend, whatever. So it was a culture shock to come to Atlanta after being around such a big, diverse group of people, and then coming to Atlanta and it's very spread out. This is like the Black area. This is the Mexican area. This is the Asian area. I wasn't used to that. So it definitely was a big difference for me. And it definitely took some getting used to. And then for the people who are from the South, as soon as they hear me talk, they're like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, they're like, where are you from?
Fact.
Yeah, they're like, you sound just like a white girl.
I know. I'm just saying, I know that's what they'll say. You sound like a white girl, but go ahead.
Yeah, they definitely always say that I sound like a white girl. Yeah, and I'm like, what does that mean? Just because I don't have the Southern drawl or the Southern accent doesn't mean that I'm white.
Facts.
Or that I'm trying to be white. It's just where I grew up, and this is just how I talk.
Right.
So that's always a big thing, especially like even meeting guys. They're all like, oh man, you sound so white.
White.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is just how I talk, unfortunately. So
it's funny that talking proper is synonymous with white, right?
Yeah. What does that even mean?
Yeah.
Because I've met some white people that I'm like, whoa, okay. Like you definitely grew around like Southern Black people.
Yeah.
Because they talk very Southern.
I call them, they got a hood degree is what I like to call it when it's like a caricature. That's how I look at it. So what kind of kid were you in high school?
So I was part of the popular crowd.
Oh,
I
you were one of
was a
those girls?
cheerleader.
Okay.
I was a cheerleader. I played volleyball.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Were you like the one black cheerleader, or there were multiple black cheerleaders?
So from kindergarten till 8th grade, I went to a more predominantly white school.
Okay.
So there was not a lot of African American children from K to 8. But when I was going into high school, I told my mom I wanted to go to a more diverse school.
Yeah.
So I actually went to a more diverse school.
Okay.
And it was definitely a huge mix. There was way more African American students. Like the white was not the minority.
Okay.
It was a lot of Asian, Mexican, and black.
Got you.
Yeah. So no, I wasn't the only black kid.
Yeah, because I know typically a lot of time, I know when I went to high school and it was 50-50, but typically from what I've noticed at football games, there's typically like maybe one or two black cheerleaders and the rest are like usually always white.
Not at our school.
Yeah.
It was plenty of us there.
Got you.
Yeah.
But yeah, you were saying you were you played volleyball, you were in the popular.
Yeah,
one of the popular
volleyball. I was a cheerleader, part of the cool kids,
Right.
as they say. But yeah, I mean, it's very different than what high school is like now compared to when, I mean, if people don't realize how old I am, I'm actually 44. So
No, you're not too much older than me. So
yeah, it was just,
we would have went to high school together.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just very different from now. And I'm not used to it being so separated and everything so materialistic. It wasn't like that. But of course, when we were in high school, like the in doing was wearing like Tommy Hilfiger, polo, whatever.
Facts. Yeah.
And now that's like full circle. Yeah. That's the in thing or whatever. But we didn't have the whole like bullying thing the way that is now.
Yeah.
So when people say you're part of the cool kids, it wasn't the way that is now.
Mm-hmm.
So we were cool with everybody, but we were definitely more part of the more popular circle within our school.
Got you. So did you leave directly for Atlanta when you graduated, or what happened?
Yeah, so my aunt actually moved to Atlanta. So I used to come visit her during the summers. So I knew about Atlanta growing up.
Got you. Okay.
And so when I graduated high school, I was lost as to what I wanted to do with my life.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the time in Iowa, you get married, go to college, have kids. And I was like, I don't want any part of any of that. Yeah, I was like, I want to see the world. Like, I want to travel. I want to experience new things.
For
so
sure.
when I graduated high school, I was like, yeah, I'm moving to Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
And I just made up my mind. I did not tell my mom.
This was right after high school.
It was I moved a little under a year after graduating high school.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just like over it. I was like, yeah, I can't see myself staying here. And so I was like secretly shipping my stuff to Atlanta.
But your aunt knew.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Well,
yeah. So she was in cahoots with me without telling my mom. And so it was like 2 weeks before I was supposed to leave. I actually told her I was leaving because I'm her baby.
Yeah.
And we were like super, super close. We still are to this day. And I was like, yeah, I'm moving to Atlanta. She was like, oh, okay, we'll get this in order. I was like, oh, no, my plane leaves next week. So when I want to do something, I definitely do it. I'm very determined and I'm very independent. If I want it, I'm going to make it happen. So yeah, so I've been here ever since.
So how many siblings do you have?
Ooh, child. So from my mother, I have one older sister.
Okay.
But from my father, I have 4 half sisters and a half brother. I don't like to say half. They have different mothers. And I'm the baby of all of them.
So between, when you say that, as far as your mom, you have an older brother.
I have an older sister.
Older sister, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. And you were the baby of you two.
Exactly.
Okay, got you.
Yeah.
Okay. So you moved down here. Did your aunt already have you set up, or what was the deal?
So the deal was I was supposed to come down here and go to college.
Mm-hmm.
But so I came down here and I'm not going to lie, I lost my mind.
Early 2000s?
Yes.
Okay.
Like when Atlanta, like I came down here and was like, oh, this is life.
Yeah.
Like, this is the way we live. This is how you party. And I literally was like, oh yeah, I'm about to just kick it.
Yeah.
And I did. I kicked it hard, like hard. And I didn't even end up going to school.
Yeah.
I just started working. I was modeling and doing all that stuff. And I was just living my best life in Atlanta because I wasn't used to it.
Yeah,
like,
I completely understand.
yeah, like we didn't have clubs the way that you had the real 112.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I had, that's a thing. Like
Yeah.
you can party till 6 a.m. So yeah, so I came down here and was like kicking it hard, like living my best life. Because that was when Atlanta was Atlanta. and Club Kaya, all the good clubs
Right.
when it was fun.
These are things I've only heard of, like I said, because
Oh, okay.
I'm new. Like I'm pretty new. I used to come here off and on since 2013. And when I say off and on, literally like every few years. I really don't, even though I'm from Charleston.
Okay.
I moved back to Charleston in 2012. But yeah, everything that when I hear these things and people on the show
Yeah.
telling me about it, I'm like, it's sounding like such an exciting time.
It was
So,
the best time.
so what part did you move to, like when you came down here?
So when I first moved to Atlanta, I lived in Stone Mountain.
Okay.
And so I lived in Stone Mountain for, I think, like maybe 2 years. And then I ended up moving to Alpharetta,
Okay.
which was a huge change
Yeah.
from living in Stone Mountain. And then from there, I've always just lived in Gwinnett. But now, the last 4 years, I've been in like Sandy Springs area.
Okay. So you've been all over South, North,
Yeah.
Northeast, North. Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and you find
Yeah.
you find what works for you.
Yeah.
Like where's your safe space, where's your hub, and Sandy Springs has definitely become like my home. That's where it's like, okay, cool. That's where I can settle down at.
Got you. Yeah, I hear a lot of people do end up like Sandy Springs, Alpharetta.
Because it's close to the city, but it's not so close to
Yeah.
the city. Like I like being outside of the city, but I don't like being too far. Like I can never live like in Woodstock or something.
Yeah,
like that. That's
yeah.
just way too,
Too far. Yeah.
Sandy Springs, I can get to Buckhead, Midtown, all within 20 minutes.
Got you. So what were you doing for work? I know you said modeling. So what type of jobs were you doing back then?
So when I first got like a real adult job, when I first moved to Atlanta, I was working at like Sam's Club.
Okay.
And I was there for a year and a half. Then I got fired because I called out a lot.
Yeah.
And that was because I was partying.
Yeah.
Like I was 20.
They
you know
knew
what
what
I
time
mean?
it was.
And
Yeah.
I didn't have the sense of what responsibility was supposed to be. And I had a boyfriend who was in the NFL. So like money was like not a thing. I'm like, oh, I don't have to go to work. He's like, yeah, you ain't got to go to work or whatever.
Yeah.
So I ended up getting fired because
Wow.
I had called out like I think they said it was like 20 days within the last 60 days or something like.
Really?
Don't judge my life.
Hey,
I was
yeah.
21. So I ended up getting fired from there. And then from there, I started working for MCI. Do you remember MCI, like the phone company?
Yeah.
Like I did
do,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, for 3 months. And that was horrible. And that's when I realized like I'm not a salesperson because like I don't want to harass people to buy stuff.
Yeah.
And so from there, I was like, okay, now I need to figure out my life. Like I need to figure out my path. And so from 22 up until now, I've always been in some aspect of healthcare.
Got you. When you say so from the time you were 22 years old up until now,
Yeah.
you've been in healthcare.
Yep, been in healthcare. So I'm a surge tech by trade.
Okay.
So I finally go to college, went back to school, and I became a surgical tech. So I used to work in the OR, assisting the doctors with surgery and all that good stuff. And I loved it, but I was like, yeah, I can't do this forever.
Why not?
I didn't like being on call.
Oh.
Like you have to be on call and like you have to spend the night at the hospital. Like I was like, yeah, no. I was like, this ain't for me. Like I was like, I don't really like this. And I was working at a hospital where I didn't feel like there was not a lot of diversity. There was only one African American surge tech in the whole hospital. And she and I were talking about certain experiences where little microaggressions and things like that. And I had never really dealt with anything like that working, period. Like I never felt like little microaggressions of racism. I never had that. But then when I was working in the hospital system, I definitely started to experience that. And I was like, oh, yeah, no. I was like, this can't be my life. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to do this forever. And so I left the hospital system and went into working for private practices. And I was super happy there. And I worked in a plastic surgeon's office, dermatology for like almost 15 years. And it was great. I got burnt out on taking care of patients, especially after COVID.
Yeah.
People became real rude and real nasty and real entitled. And I was working in Buckhead, as we say, the Buckhead Betties, like
That's what y'all call it?
Yeah.
Okay,
The
okay.
rich little people that feel very entitled. I just was over it. So now I actually work in medical software.
Okay.
So I don't deal with patients at all, but I'm still in healthcare.
Got you. So as a young lady, let's rewind back because I try to get the whole spectrum of things, especially when you move here young, which is interesting. Did you ever work in the nightlife by any chance? Did you bartend or anything like that?
No, never bartend or anything like that. I was too busy partying.
Too busy partying for
Yeah,
that.
like
I
I
got
was
you.
like trying to kick it in the clubs. So yeah, so I never was a bottle girl or anything like that. I tried to do like party promoting for a
Yeah.
while, in which it was cool, but it was more for like private events. But yeah, it's a lot of work
Yeah.
going into throwing parties and stuff like that. So yeah, so no. So I was doing like the model part of it.
Right. So you got like a lot of experience early on, and even you said you dated an NFL player.
Yeah.
So I know that's a whole different world right there to be experienced. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. It definitely is a different world. And like my dating life has definitely been a full circle
Yeah.
from dating like NFL players to CEOs, to lawyers, doctors, whatever, down to like your normal blue collar worker. So it definitely gives you a different viewpoint when you've been from like dating someone who's like a multimillionaire to someone who maybe is not as wealthy. So I have a different perspective on dating just because I've been from the highest points of dating down to normal everyday people.
Okay, you mean the different echelons and earning.
Yeah.
Okay, got you.
Yeah, because it
Yeah.
definitely is different. Like people say that it's not a difference. That's a total lie. It's a
Mm.
huge difference. So, but it's just a different lifestyle and you just live very differently.
What's the differences that you've noticed between the high earners versus the lower earners, or men who have these white collar jobs to blue collar jobs? Do you notice any? I know you said there were, but what are those differences that you're talking about?
I think for me personally, and I can only speak from my own personal experience
For
from the
sure.
men that I've dated. So I don't like to
Yeah,
generalize and say all men are this way because that's not true. I haven't dated all men.
for sure.
But so for the men that I have dated that have been higher earners and more in the six-figure multi-millionaire range, they value time a lot more than someone who has a lot of time on their hands
Got you.
versus a man who is busy running businesses and things like that. They don't have a lot of free time.
Yeah.
So they value the time that they set apart to spend with you versus someone who they're like, oh, I got all time. Well, when you want to meet, I'm free Monday through Sunday versus someone who's I'm only available Friday between 6 and 12, then I'm gone for a week. So they value that time a lot more. So I feel like that's one of the biggest difference is that they definitely value the time and energy that they put forth within a person
Right.
because they definitely value their time versus someone who's, I'm like, kicking it. What you want to do? Like, you want to meet up Friday night at 9 o'clock? And I'm like, no, I just got off of a plane. Like, I'm exhausted. Versus someone who is very busy. They're like, yeah, let's look at the calendars and set a date because this is when you're free, when I'm free. So that's part of the biggest difference. Everyone focuses on the money part, but of course the money part's it's a big difference. But I think thinking the value of time and energy is very different.
Is that a turnoff when a man has a completely empty schedule?
I don't want to say it's a turn off, but for me, I don't have an empty schedule.
Right.
Like I travel for work as well. So sometimes I'm gone for a week, or if I'm traveling internationally, I may be gone for a week and a half. So if you just have all the free time in the world, I'm probably not going to be the girl for you because you're never at home. You're never here. You're never free. And I'm like, I got these bills to pay. Like,
Yeah.
now if you want to take over these bills, then that's a different story. But for me, I got to pay these bills. So I got to go out here and I got to get it. But, and I think that has been an issue for me because one guy was like, you're never at home. I'm like, I actually am. I'm home 4 days out of 7. So if you make yourself available out of those 4 days, then it will work. But it can't just only be when it's convenient for you. It has to be when it's convenient for me as well. And I think a lot of people, after they get a certain age, they get set in their ways
Yeah.
and set to things being this way. I want it my way. This is the way that I'm used to doing it. But you have to be able to compromise.
For sure.
Or it's never going to work. So because I do travel a lot, guys are like, dang, you're never in Atlanta. I'm like, I actually am. You just have to be free when I'm free. And I'm always open and okay, so I'm out of town Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I'm free these days. Let me know what day works
For
for
sure.
you. So I have no problem with being open and effective communication but it's up to you what you do with that information.
Right. So, because I know there was a video I did a while ago, or I reacted to a video where there were some guys, and I was always on my journey learning that even if you don't have shit going on,
Yeah.
you got to make it seem like you got some shit going on. Because if you just have, and which you shouldn't anyway, have all the time available for someone to say, okay, when can we meet up? We can meet up tonight. Shit, what's going on? You have to make it seem like you have something going on, because a woman's, bro, you don't have nothing. Like,
Yeah.
it's just me. You're waiting on me at this point. You're really thirsty on some things like that. So, and this is going to go into something that we're going to talk about here shortly. But that whole thing of what you spoke of, as far as a man who's busy, he only has a certain amount of time. So if you're going to turn around and disrespect his time, or anybody's time who's busy, and they actually set a time, these are the dates they have available, maybe one day out of 7 that they have available, and you just flake on somebody,
Right.
or just not respond, is just, yo, this is, so that's something that I do find important, just a matter of respect as well. But yeah, we want to get into that whole situation later and get your thoughts on flaking and ghosting and how it is, because some people think that, as we said, just the way you look determines like how people treat you at the end of the day, and that's not really how it is. But you determine how people treat you afterwards, at that first point or whatever. But
Exactly.
so you've dated obviously guys from white collar to blue collar, and you said that this is what you notice in terms of that. What do you think there's the commonality between all men that you've dated? Has there been a commonality that you've noticed about men?
Yes. So I definitely like manly men.
Okay.
They're generally powerful in some aspect.
Okay.
Either it's in their career that they are powerful, whether they're like the CEO or whatever, or they're very like dominating in an aspect. I like a manly man,
Yeah.
like not just big in aspect, but
Right.
the way that he thinks, the way that he views himself. I want a man that's a leader that I can come to with a problem and he can be like, okay, let's talk this
Yeah.
out. Let's come up with the options. I don't want somebody that's going to be like, damn, what you gonna do?
Yeah, what you gonna do?
No, bro, we supposed to figure this out together, because that's part of being in a partnership. So I think the most common theme with any guy that I've dated is that they are definitely like more of like powerful, definitely leaders, and definitely manly men in that aspect, that they definitely want me to be a lady and be within my feminine energy and just let me live that life, that they want to take the pressures off of me having to be so independent and letting me know that I can rely on them for whatever it may be, not just financial aspects, running an idea by them, or that my car needs to get washed and I hate going to the car wash. They'll take care of simple stuff like that. So it's not always about it's a big ticket item. It's more so them stepping in and being that man and that leader and that provider in my life.
Have you ever been in love?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
How many times?
I would say 2.
2 times?
Yeah, I've been in lust, but
For sure.
but truly in love, I've definitely truly been in love twice.
And how do you know?
So with my last relationship, I was definitely head over heels gone in love with this man. And it was and I knew because I looked forward to every moment that we would spend.
Okay.
That I wasn't annoyed by him calling me or trying to figure out when we were going to see each other. I was definitely excited about seeing him and spending time with him. And he definitely respected me, respected my drive, and like he let me be me. A lot of people look at me and they think that I'm probably a certain type of way, but I'm actually very silly and a big kid at heart. And he would just laugh about the little silly stuff that I would do and things like that. So I could be myself with him, and he loved me regardless of whether I looked like this, because I definitely don't look like this every single day.
Okay.
There'll be days where I look like I'm homeless, and it is what it is. Just saying.
Yeah.
And he loved me regardless. And we could just talk about anything. And like literally everything. Like, and I just knew that, like, I was like, okay, that's my person.
You mentioned earlier, you said if you're going to stay in Iowa, either you get married, have kids, or go to school or something like that. is marriage? Are you against marriage?
No.
For you personally? Like,
No,
okay.
I'm not against marriage at all, but I
Yeah.
was against it at 19.
Got
Like
you.
there was no way I was
Yeah.
trying to get married. I didn't even realize I wanted to get married and felt ready to get married until I was 30. Because I was like, okay, like I done done. Rest in peace, Shawty Low. Like I done done it all. So like I had a good time and I was like, okay, now I can settle down and live my life. But yeah, I still want to get married. I do not want to have children at this point. I mean, I'm 44. It's just not my life at this point, but definitely still want to get married. But I just was not ready to get married in my 20s.
Gotcha.
And most of my friends that did get married in their 20s, they're on their second marriage. And I don't want that. Like I want it to be one and done. And I could have been married by now. There was a couple of times where a gentleman was very much interested in marrying me. And I was like, oh, yeah, no. I was like, yeah, no.
Was this after 30?
It was before 30.
Before 30, okay.
And then one after 30. And I just was like, yeah, I can't see myself being with this man forever.
So you knew that he wasn't the guy, and did you stay in?
No.
Is that what was that the breaking point? Him wanting to get married, or
no? It was a couple of other things. I'm big on communication, and I'm big on allowing a person to fix a problem versus just ending it. A lot of people just give up too quick.
Right.
Now I'm not gonna be a fool and let you keep doing bad things or whatever. I wasn't having that, just that aha, like that, oof, this is my guy. I was like, oh my God, I just love him. I loved him as a person, but I wasn't in love with him. And he was very much in love with me. And I was like trying to get there because he was such a great person. And I think a lot of the times that people think just because that person is a great person that you're supposed to make it work.
Yeah.
And I don't feel that way. Like, this man can be the greatest person, but he's not my person. And I wasn't just going to settle because he was like checking off all the boxes, as people say. I wasn't going to just be like, okay, yeah, I'm going to marry this man just because.
How long were you in a relationship with him?
Like a little over 9 months.
And at what point did he want to marry you?
I think we started talking about marriage at like month 6.
Okay.
And I was like, ooh, I was like, let's see, let's continue on. And then it was just I ain't gonna lie, the biggest problem was in the bedroom.
Okay.
Just saying. That was the biggest problem for me. And I was like, this can't be my forever if I'm not satisfied. And
were you telling him?
Yeah.
And he just wouldn't fix it? Or
it was ego. Like, he was like, you're the only woman that's ever been unhappy. I was like, I'm probably the only woman who may have told you.
And this is the one you want to be with.
Yeah, so like that's an open conversation.
Yeah.
And you should be able to talk about anything.
Absolutely.
And so for him, it was a shot to his ego. And I was like, we can't get married if we can't even have these type of conversations.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, I can't do this. And then when I broke up with him, that's when he was like, I have the ring. And I was like, I'm sorry, I'm not going to do it.
It's too late.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's listening to that. I know there was something else I want to bring up about that. Was it his idea, like every step of the way, like he wanted you to be his girlfriend, for lack of a better term, or was it your idea first about the relationship?
No, it was definitely him. I'm old fashioned when it comes. I feel, as the Bible says, he who finds a wife finds a good thing.
For sure.
So I don't like to pressure a man into any situation because, and sometimes women, we definitely feel things first. And so I want to give the man the chance to feel that. I don't want him to feel obligated because I brought it up. And even with my last relationship, he said, I love you first, even though I felt it, but I was like, oh my God, I don't want to say it first.
You don't want to say it first.
And then he gets scared and then I run this man away. But he said it first, and I was like, okay, you do feel it.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say that it's a game. Women are, I think, sometimes more emotional than men when it comes to relationships. So we definitely may have certain feelings first. So I believe relationships are about communication. So if a man wants me to be his woman, that's a question that we have to talk about. I never assume that I'm in a relationship with a person until we've had that conversation and we've decided that we're going to be exclusive and it's just going to be us.
Right.
Because you could be out here doing whatever and I can't get mad at you because we didn't agree that we're exclusive.
Right.
But it also works the other way.
Yeah.
I can be out here doing whatever and you can't get mad because you didn't have that conversation with me
Right.
that you wanted to be exclusive.
Exactly.
But men, they don't think women are supposed to do that. They're like, but you my woman. But am I? Because we didn't have that
We didn't
conversation.
have that conversation.
And I didn't agree to be in a relationship with you. So I always let the man lead in that aspect to whether we're going to be in a committed relationship and that we are going to be exclusive because I want him to lead. I want him to be the man and lead that relationship. Now, if we're like dating 3 months down the line and we haven't had this conversation, of course I'm woman enough to say, hey, it's been about 3 months. What are we doing? And from there, depending on your answer, that's how I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Either I know this is just fun and we're kicking it and I can continue pursuing other interests,
Right.
or we're going to agree that we're going to lock this thing down and we're going to be together. I don't set a time frame. You can't be doing something for 6 months and you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah. I asked that question because listening to you explain the situation, it clearly sounds like he was more into you than you were into him. Just by me listening to the way you explained that. And I only assumed that he was like, yo, I want you to be my girl. I want to be exclusive, so on and so forth. And another one of my guests, I was explaining to her from a man's perspective and me being on my journey, me learning that women tend to hit you, which is another thing that we're going to get into. Once you start talking about, hey, I want you to be my girl, and especially it could be too soon. Now, when you start getting, how you said 3 months, all right, now what are we doing? But you're bringing it up at that point. But if a man starts saying that, just like you said, you didn't want to run him off by saying, I love you or whatever. When a man starts saying that, a lot of times a woman feels like she's losing her freedom. She'll be like, she'll start getting distant. She'll go ghost. She'll be like, she'll stop calling, responding to texts and things like that. And you're like, hey, what's going on? And she'll hit you with the, I'm just confused right now. I got a lot going.
Wow.
I got a lot going on. I don't know or whatever. But she just doesn't want to tell you that you're coming on too strong. You're being too needy by trying to push this relationship forward or trying to get into a relationship. That's why I feel, me personally, from what I've learned, is that it has to be a woman's idea for the relationship to work, because that truly shows that she's really into you at this point, rather than sitting back waiting for a man. And then when you do ask her, she probably like, this dude's a weirdo. Like, he wants to be in a relationship or whatever, even though this time, that 3 months, as you said, may have passed, but she's just whatever like that. So I asked that question to another guest, and I was like, what if he never brings it up? What if he never asks? And I think you responded like, you did respond. You said, at 3 months, I'll probably be like, hey, what's going on? And if I don't get the right answer, that means let me continue to explore my options, which is what the other guest said, what you said. I guess I'll have to go ahead and explore my options if I bring it up, and that's what happens. And the same thing with the marriage.
That's so interesting to me, because my girlfriends that I have that are single, like, we have that conversation to where it's like the guy isn't bringing this up. So I don't, for my circle of female friends, and again, I can only speak for the women that are in my circle, we don't necessarily have guys who are trying too soon.
Yeah.
I think we've had it where it's the opposite. We're like, okay, what is he doing?
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing?
Right.
So that's interesting that it's always interesting hearing a male perspective of things versus a female's perspective, because it is a huge difference.
Yeah.
Because you deal with a very different viewpoint than what I deal with. And I've only had a guy where I was like, oh, you're doing too soon.
Yeah.
One time, and he was definitely doing way too much too soon. Like, within a week, this man was like, oh, I want you to be my girl, and I want to take you home to meet my family. I'm like, bro, we haven't even had sex yet.
Yeah.
Like, you're doing way too much too soon.
Yeah.
So that's the only guy that I've ever felt like I was like, okay, you need to pump your brakes a little bit, because this is too much too soon.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's been the other way around, where I'm like, okay, what are we doing? We're hitting that 3 month mark here. Either we gonna make it happen, or we're gonna go our separate ways.
Yeah. And I know people bring up that term love bombing or whatever, which I don't know if that's the guy you were just talking about was doing that, or he was just being too thirsty.
I just think he was being, I don't like to use the word thirsty.
Yeah.
I think that for him, he seen me and he just latched on because in his mind, I was everything that he wanted.
Yeah.
So in his mind, he was like, oh,
I got to do this.
Like, I got to lock her down. This is her. Like, you're mine.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but you don't even know me really.
For sure.
Do you even know my middle name?
Yeah.
But for him, he was just like, I got to have you. I got to have you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I get it. But at the same time, to me, what are you trying to have? Because you really don't know me as a person. The physical part of me, yeah, you can see what I look like, but you don't even know like my hopes, my dreams, my fears. You don't know any of that.
I don't even know if
you're
an asshole.
Complete psychopath.
Be a complete asshole.
Yeah, like I could be a complete psychopath, but always a pretty woman.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, yeah. She ain't got no kids. She ain't never been married. Like, you mine. That's all. So I'm like, yeah, I could be a complete psychopath.
Mm-hmm.
And you wouldn't even care because you just ready to be in a relationship with me. And to me, people that bring people around their family too soon is a red flag to me.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's a huge red flag. Nah, like we're not doing that. Like you're not coming around my family or my friends until I know like we're really locked in.
Mm-hmm.
Because to me, you also bring up where did James go? Yeah. Oh, James ain't here. Like, I don't want to deal with that either. So, so if I see a red flag, I'm generally a very good judge of character. Mm-hmm. And I definitely go off of those red flags. And I'm the type that likes to cut my losses sooner than later.
Are you typically the one who breaks up with these nice gentlemen?
No.
Are you breaking these guys' hearts? What's going on here?
Not all the time.
Yeah.
I can't say that I have. I can say that I have broken up with more men than they have broken up with me. And that's just because a lot of the times I have gotten into situationships. Mm-hmm. And it was cool for the moment. And then when you really start to see that person, you're like, oh, yeah, no. Like, this ain't working.
Yeah.
And like I've had a guy where, like you use the term love bomb. Mm-hmm. I've had a guy trauma dump on me. And I'm like, bro, you need therapy. Like therapy is a wonderful tool. You should use it. Yeah. Because I'm not her. Like I can't, like you said, I can't be the only thing that makes you happy. Yeah. Like I can't be your therapist. I can't be your therapist. I can't be your girlfriend. I can't be your lover. I can't be your best friend. I can't be all that. That's insane. And he was a great guy. Like, great guy, checked all the boxes, but when I realized that he just unloaded all his shit on me, and I'm sitting there like...
How soon was this?
It was very soon. Yeah. It was like 3 weeks into us like talking, and I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, okay. And I'm a genuinely nice person, so I wanted to listen and offer my opinion and offer support, but it just became... Every time, that's what our conversations was about, was his problems, his issues. And I'm sitting on the phone like, oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah. Not knowing you.
Like, let me get the bottle. Like, I'm turning into your therapist. Yeah. And then when he said I was the only thing that made him happy, I was like, yeah, we're not doing this. No.
It's shocking when I hear these horror stories from women. And I think a lot of us as men, when we hear women tell these stories, we can relate sometimes to some of the things that we may have done, and that used to be me. I used to do shit. Because when I hear women telling stuff, I'm like, I'll laugh at it, but I'm like, I did stupid stuff like that, and not knowing it's turning women off, because a lot of these guys don't know seduction or how to build attraction or what turns a woman off. Even though some women will ultimately call those guys narcissistic, or manipulative, or use what's my ex used to call it, dark psychology. She said I used to use dark psychology on her and stuff like that.
Gaslighting.
But yeah, I wouldn't even. Yeah, I was called all those things. I was called all those things. But these things, like you just said, you're dumping stuff off. I have done that with a few women, telling them stuff early on, fresh out of a divorce. Me doing this stuff and not knowing, and as I start learning, I'm like, okay. You got to do this. You got to do this. Don't say anything about this. Don't talk about this. And it's not like you're hiding anything, but
Yeah.
it's just that it's certain things you just don't talk about. And if you do talk about it, it's going to be in a positive light.
Yeah.
Briefly.
Yeah, you got to slow motion that thing.
Yeah.
Like you just can't go 0 to
Yeah.
90. Like you got to, because you want to be able to talk to your person
Yeah.
about anything. But when you're learning that person and getting to know them, it should be light. It shouldn't be so heavy.
Yeah.
And that's where I think a lot of people make that mistake, is that it comes on so heavy so
Yeah.
quick. And that's where you're like, no, I can't do this. Because
Yeah.
just imagine if you were meeting a young lady and you take her out to dinner and the first thing she starts talking about is all her debt, all her bills. You're going to be like, I just wanted to share this spinach dip. Like I just wanted this to be chill.
Yeah.
But now you're dumping all of this stuff on me so quickly. Like I just wanted to kick it. I just wanted it to be light. I just wanted it to be cool. And so I think a lot of people make that mistake, that to where they want to be open, but they just do too much.
They just do too much.
Yeah.
Got you. Okay, Mia. So you mentioned, obviously, we had some gentlemen that had some missteps, right?
Yes.
What are some of these red flags that you've learned over time that just pop up automatically when you're dating a guy?
So the number one red flag for me, like I cannot drive this home, is being respectful of my time and my energy. Because like I'm dressed here right now, this is how I would dress to go out on a date.
For sure.
So this is not easy. Like women that put forth an effort in their appearance, that takes time, that takes resources. So if I'm doing that for you, I just want you to respect my time. I'm always generally early. So I feel like I shouldn't be waiting on you as a man. Like you shouldn't be 10, 15, 20 minutes late to my date.
Yeah.
Unless there's an issue. And people always say Atlanta has traffic, but you live here, so you know that. So you plan ahead.
For sure.
Like you plan ahead, especially if you don't know where you're going. So the biggest red flag for me is someone who's not respectful of my time and my energy. Person who's not a man or person of their word. Even in my platonic relationships with my female friends, if you say you're going to do something or be somewhere at a certain time, I expect you to be there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's a huge red flag. Or people who are so ready to just, again, like trauma dump. Like to me, that's letting me know that you are not whole within your person. Because
I agree. Yeah.
I'm not your therapist. I can't take on that role. I didn't go to school for that. So I can't really help you. I can offer you friendly advice. But if you have that much trauma and that much going on, there's nothing wrong with seeking help. And I know it's so taboo in our community of brown and black people that we keep what happens in our house in our house. But that stigma needs to be gone, because that's why we have therapists, because they know they are trained to deal with certain issues. I've been to therapy, especially after my last breakup with my ex. I went to therapy because I was broken and my family couldn't fix me.
Yeah.
I needed that professional to make me whole again. And there's nothing wrong with that. I don't frown upon talking about it. I'm very open about my journey, and it helped me be a better person. So people who don't understand that there's nothing wrong with saying, I'm not okay. There's nothing wrong with that. And if you're not okay, then that's where you go to the right place to get okay. So people who don't believe in therapy is a big red flag to me. I don't see how you not believe in therapy, whether it's therapy with a professional, with your pastor, with your friend, whatever. Like you have to be able to talk and you have to be able to communicate with people. And I know I'm probably gonna get a little hate
Nah,
for
go
this
ahead.
one.
Go for it.
But I am big on teeth. And a man who has bad teeth but drives $100,000 car, has a Rolex, has all the jewelry, lives in a penthouse, but you're not taking care of your mouth? That's the gateway
For
to
sure.
like your body.
Yeah.
So to me, I feel like that's saying something about you. Like your priorities should be your health. We only have one body. And your teeth and your mouth, like, bro, like, how are we not taking care of that? Like, just that doesn't make sense to me. So I just feel like your priorities may not be the level I need them to be if you don't see that's an issue. Because health is wealth. Like, you got to take care of yourself, because it can start from there all the way down. Yeah, so those are like the biggest red flags to me. I just feel like you have to be whole in order to share yourself with another
Absolutely.
person.
I completely agree. And a lot of us do try to get back out there too soon. And that's when we get into talking about our exes and what we just went through.
Absolutely.
And nothing is more heartbreaking than a woman who doesn't take care of her teeth either. I can't stand.
Right.
I can't stand
Isn't
that.
it horrible?
Yeah, I can't.
Like, I am just like, and I hate to be fixated on it, but that's all
Nah.
I can see. I'm literally like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
Like, I just can't. And I love braces. I think they're extremely attractive.
Yeah.
So I don't even care if you have braces. Do what you got to do, but
Yeah.
don't be walking around with a yacht master on and your teeth look like you've been chewing on rocks. No, that doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. And I agree with the same thing with women who invest in all these extras and their grill is shot. So
Yeah. Like, this is a no-go for me.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, I don't have children. So if you have 6 kids by 5 baby mamas, no, thank you.
So what are some things you find attractive in a man?
So I like tall men.
Okay.
Because I'm a tall for a woman.
How
as
tall
they
are
say.
you?
I'm 5'6.5".
Yeah, because as a lot of women, I've had a few women on here who were tall or whatever, and one lady, she was like, "I'm 6 foot," and I'm like, "You're not 6 foot." And then she took her shoes off, and we stood face to face, and I was taller than her. But obviously, you got on some stiletto boots,
Yeah.
which I was talking to her offline because I've had some ladies on here, and no disrespect, because we joked about it as well offline. About one of you had just one boot on, and the other one was like, "No, I want to keep my boots on and show them off." But yeah, you have on the, I don't know, I'm assuming that's considered a stiletto.
Yeah, that's a stiletto heel.
Yeah. So she was like almost towering over me, and I was
Yeah.
like, "Nah, it's because of the heels." And I'm
No.
6 foot tall, so you're
Yeah.
5'6.5", you said?
Yeah, I'm 5'6.5" without
Okay.
shoes, but I generally always have on heels depending on where we're going.
Gotcha.
So I like tall men. I like men, again, with nice teeth. That's definitely very attractive and like health conscious, right? You don't have to be a bodybuilder. You don't have to live in the gym, but know what the gym is. Or even if you don't go for the gym, you like to go for a walk. You like to do something active. Because as we get older, like, our health is very important. So someone who's health conscious, for sure. Someone who likes to travel. I love to travel. Very culture diverse. I like everything. Like,
Yeah.
I can go from a hole in the wall to the mayor's ball.
Yeah.
Like, I can do it all. So I need somebody who can do that as well. Especially with my group of friends. My friends are very diverse, so we're always in different type of situations. So I need someone who's comfortable in their own skin and can easily put themselves in any situation that we're in and be comfortable. I'm a foodie to my core. Like,
There's a foodie here.
core.
Yeah.
I'm also a little baby chef.
Yeah.
So I like to cook.
Yeah.
So I need a man that wants to eat because I like to cook. Put me in the kitchen. Like, I have no problem with that. Someone who's open-minded and adventurous. Like, I'm an adrenaline junkie. So
Yeah.
I'm always up to trying new things. Like, I just went to Costa Rica.
That's right.
And I zip lined through the rainforest. I want somebody who's, maybe you don't want to do it, but you're
Be open to doing
You know
it.
what I
Yeah.
mean? Yeah. So that's really like the main things that I look for. And then, of course, I want someone who's professional and established. I'm not saying that you have to be a multimillionaire or anything like that, but you have your career and you're established in your career and you know your path and you
Right.
know what you want. I would prefer somebody who doesn't have kids, or if they have older children, just because I don't have any children. And if you have a 5 or 6 year old, our lives are very different.
Yeah.
Like, I sleep in till noon on a Saturday.
Yeah.
You may have to take them to swim practice and stuff like that. So our lives are just very different. And I love kids. I absolutely love them. I just don't have any of my own. I prefer somebody who either doesn't have kids or has older kids.
Yeah.
And someone who's fun. Like, I literally am like a big kid and I love to have a good time.
Yeah.
So I need you to be able to take that suit off. If you wear a suit, and put on your Jordans or whatever you wear and just have a good time.
For sure.
Like, we gonna go bowling, whatever it is that we want to do, we're gonna do it. And you're comfortable with doing that. I just need you to be open and honest. Like, just be honest about what you want and what you don't want, what you can and cannot deal with. And I'm not gonna lie, sex is very important to
Yeah.
me. I'm a very sexual person. So someone who is comfortable in the bedroom and that's also open to constructive criticism.
Yeah.
Because what worked for your ex
That's
may
right.
not work for me and vice versa. And you need to be comfortable enough to have those conversations with that person. I've been in that situation where I was not satisfied in the bedroom, and I will never do it again.
That's what the same gentleman. So for the men who are watching, and obviously we don't know who this guy is.
Yeah, I will never tell.
What was the problem? And I'm getting an inkling of what it was. What was the problem?
So he was not. What can I say?
You can say whatever you want.
Okay,
Yeah.
I don't want to like.
Yeah.
So like he was not very comfortable within his body. So like whenever we had sex, he always had on like clothes. Like I'm not joking. He like would pull it through the boxer hole.
How long? This was 9 months. Was this 9 months? You guys
Yes, 9 months. I'd never seen him fully naked once. I've asked him.
I've never heard this.
I'm telling you. I cannot make this shit up.
Yeah.
I would ask him to take a shower with me. He was not comfortable taking a shower with me. Head game was whack. Whack.
Yeah.
And like I was like, okay, let me teach you.
And you try to coach it? That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Let me teach you what works for me. Because I said I am open.
Yeah.
And I believe in effective communication.
Yeah. And you had to train him for the next woman.
Yeah.
Let me go ahead.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was just not good. And like, it was just not good at all. And
So he just wouldn't he just was like, I refuse. I refuse to.
And it was simple things. I'd be like, let's watch porn. He's nah.
Yeah.
I'm like, no. Oh, okay. And everyone's like, he's gay. And I was like, he's not gay.
He would say that watching porn?
My friends.
Oh, your friends would say he's gay. Okay,
yeah, my friends
got
was like, oh, he's gay. I was like, he's not gay. And they're like, something's wrong with that nigga. I'm like,
yeah.
No. I'm like, everybody's not into everything, and I get that.
Yeah.
But you have to be open to please your partner.
You do. Now because when you mentioned porn, I'm like, okay, I could see that because some people would probably be like, I don't want to watch porn, but I'm open to doing what you want me to do. But just to be like, nah, I'm not doing that. And nothing's wrong with me. My last partner, because I had Bobby. She was a guest I had on here. She's the owner of the Harold's Chicken and Ice Bar here. Yeah. And she was saying the same thing, as you said. And I know that to be true, too. Everybody's not the same. The tricks that you may have done with this person or what this person enjoyed before is not the same way with this person. So I think it's effective communication if you want something and you know that this is a big thing with the partner that you're with. But out of all the stuff I've heard, I've never heard somebody keeping their clothes on.
Yeah.
That's. Was this a Mormon? Like what kind
No, he was from Atlanta.
Yeah, he's from Atlanta.
From Atlanta, born and raised.
Yeah.
And he was like a big guy, like he was 6'4".
Yeah.
He used to be a bodybuilder, but he
let it go.
Yeah. So I get that. You may not have been like 100% comfortable within your body, but if you're trying, and this was a guy who wanted to marry me, I'm like, if you're trying to marry me, like, I want a man that's going to get in the shower with me.
Yeah.
We going to take a bath
for
together.
Sure.
Like, I need you to be naked.
Absolutely.
Like, I want to feel skin on skin contact.
Absolutely.
Like, if you
so
can't
he would wear
that,
a coat, hat, and boots? Was he?
He kept his Timbs on. No,
what was that, Mr. Marcus? Was it, what's the other dude who always wear the Timbs? I know since you be watching flicks, you probably know what I'm talking about. Because I had to look up, I did a thumbnail, by the way, for you guys, because I had a guest who did porn. And he cheated on his wife with his co-star and got his co-star pregnant.
Oh, wow.
And I was just looking up a porn star to put on the thumbnail, and I looked up Miss London, and I went on her Instagram, and she took a picture with the dude who wears the Timbs. I can't think of his name, but anyway.
I don't know.
Yeah,
he
always rocking the Timbs.
There's a couple of them, I just know their names.
Mr. Marcus wears the hat. Mr. Marcus,
yeah. He always has on a New York hat or something like that.
I don't know what kind. It's always tight.
It's always a hat. Yeah,
old school.
Yeah.
Superhead. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so it was just again.
That is crazy. Like he was he wearing briefs? What is
he would wear like regular boxers.
Regular boxers. Yeah, this is crazy. This is crazy.
I literally can't make this shit up. Like some of the stories, that's why my
And
friends,
this was even on the first time? The first time he
yeah. So like the first time
This is crazy.
we had sex, I just counted it as it's the first time. Sometimes the first time can be weird, right?
Yeah.
So I just chopped it up. Like it didn't last long. It wasn't that great. I was like, nerves can definitely be part of this situation for the first time.
Go ahead.
So then the second time it was the same. And I'm like, oh, okay. And so like I tried to work with him and it just did not get better.
It didn't
but
get better.
he treated me like
everything else
was so good. Like we would have fun together. He was very respectful. He wanted to get married. He wanted to have children and all of that stuff. So it was good, but I was just like, this can't be forever. Like I'm not happy. Like I'm not satisfied at all. If I have to go get my toy and my man is laying next to me, there's a problem.
Yeah.
But that became our routine.
Yeah.
And he was okay with that.
And he was okay with you doing that.
And I was like, yeah, no, this can't be my life.
Because some people, and I've had this conversation with other guests, and I'm going to ask you, and it seems to be high on your list. Because some people, as we get older, we will say that sex isn't that important, right? And I know you're shaking your head, right? To me, it's important, but I don't think it's as important as it once was when I was younger because of other things that I do. Because some people just get married or get with people just, as we said before.
Yeah, they just want to have a companionship.
Yeah. Or the guy you said he wanted to lock you down just because you were pretty.
Yeah.
And I think some dudes want to lock women down just for sex. They don't care that she never had to work on anything in her life in terms of her personality. She never had to work on being a good person. She never had to work on being caring, affectionate, any of these other things that as a human being, you would naturally want somebody like that. But if all it is that the only time you guys see eye to eye is in bed, and then after that, everything else is just silence, I think that's an issue.
Absolutely.
So I guess some people, and I'm not saying you're being superficial, but I know some people would be like, man, he treated you like a queen. You had fun with the guy, but it's just that he was lacking in this one area. But the way you explained it was, he just wasn't
willing to work on it. And there were some other issues within our relationship, not just sex wasn't the only issue. There was other issues, like he was jealous of the relationship that I had with my mother because he didn't have that type of relationship with his mother. So me being so involved in my mom's life was an issue for him. So there was other issues. Sex wasn't the only issue, but sex was definitely a big issue. And it's not the only thing, but for me and my life and what I want, I'm very affectionate. I'm very loving. I'm very much that touchy-feely person. And if I don't get that back from you, I'm not getting what I need in the relationship. And it's not only just the sexual part of it, but it's also the intimate part within your relationship.
Yeah.
Because intimacy doesn't equal sex.
Yeah, it's just, definitely not.
You know, and a lot of people don't understand there's a difference between being intimate with a person and having sex. So I was lacking the sexual part, but I was also lacking the intimacy part as well. And it's like something as simple as like him not having his shirt off and I'm laying on his chest watching a movie. That's being close without it being sexual.
Yeah.
If you're not comfortable with taking your shirt off, like I can't do that either.
Yeah.
So it's like there were so many things, and like I said, he was a great guy. He just was not the guy for me. I have never been uncomfortable taking my clothes off in front of a person that I'm about to have sex with.
Right.
Because if I am, I shouldn't be having sex with that person.
You shouldn't be.
If you're not comfortable being naked, you shouldn't be being intimate with that person.
Yeah. Now it would be times where I would throw on a towel or something like that, or hurry up and put on my briefs or my boxers or something. When I say briefs, boxer briefs, I don't wear the tighty whitey shit. Or what they call them, dun-dun-duns, Superman underwear. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. So but I could understand that, especially if you felt like, if you know you used to look a certain way and you're like, I'm not who I used to be. I don't feel comfortable. But I think that's one of the things with weight loss and motivating is to look in the mirror at yourself in the morning and be like, hey, is this where you want to be at?
Exactly.
What the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
If you can look in the mirror, I don't want to go to the gym. You can look in the mirror and be like, is this where you want to be, and talk to yourself? I think that's good motivation to do those things. But that's a wild one. I know that's gonna be a clip.
I'm telling
You
you,
know?
I literally cannot make this shit up because some of the things that I have dealt with in like dating and relationships is definitely crazy.
So you just described some things in terms of some red flags. And the reason why I'm going to ask you this because a lot of times the answer I get with this is pretty much the same with women. But how important is a man's looks to you?
So it's not the top priority because if you lined up the last 5 guys that I've dated, they're all very different. And so I really like personality.
Yeah.
Now, I definitely don't want somebody that looks like, no disrespect to Flavor Flav, but like we all know that man's not that attractive. But I definitely don't want somebody that looks like him, but you don't have to be a supermodel.
Yeah.
You don't have to be a bodybuilder. You don't have to have all of that, but take care of yourself, have a haircut, have your locks twisted, whatever. Just maintain yourself. You don't have to be dark. You don't have to be light. You don't have to be white. You don't have to be this. I'm open to the person.
Yeah.
So it's not like I have a set list that you have to check off this list as far as standards. I don't like shorter men, and I'm just being honest because as you've seen when I walked in the room, I'm tall in heels.
Yeah.
So if you're 5'6", and I put on my heels, like I'm towering over you. So that's just not what I like personally for me. So I like a guy who's at least 5'11" to 6 feet. You don't have, like I said, you don't have to be a bodybuilder, but be in shape.
Yeah.
Take care of yourself. You don't have to have a 6-pack or nothing like that. That's not that important to me. It's your physical health is what's important.
Right.
Teeth are very important. I think that's probably my number one thing is teeth. I'm always going to look at your teeth.
Yeah.
Number one. But yeah, the other parts of the looks, if your personality is a winner for me, that makes a huge difference. And like I said, if you lined up the last 5 guys that I dated, the only thing probably in common with them is they're all at least 6 feet tall.
Got you.
But other than that, the physical aspect, all different shades, different races, different body types, different professions. So yeah, so I'm really more so about that person versus are you checking off all the boxes on these looks?
Then that's a common thing that I think every woman has said the height thing is like a non-negotiable when it comes to that. And they always say the looks aren't really that important. You're the first person I heard say teeth, which me as a man, it's just one of those things. But I think the majority of women, I think when it comes to the aesthetic of a man is pretty much the same from what I gather. Because men on my channel and in the comments, they try to make it seem like women are so superficial when it comes to looks. And I will say height is what it is. That's her preference. And a lot of dudes will be like, how do you know what 6 foot is as a woman? How do you really know what 6 foot is if you're 5'3"? Why is it that big of a deal? So they'll be like, she's into him because he's this way, or he's light skinned, or he's dark skinned, he's got locks, he's got curly hair, he's got this, that. And I'm just like, bro, women don't really care about that stuff, man. It's really, as you said, it's really about your personality.
Yeah.
It's really about, and that goes for, I know you say you weren't in sales, but I know you've worked with a lot of people in your profession, but who you are, your personality, as Javon always say, is your personal reality. And you attract people with how you carry yourself and how you conduct yourself with them. So looks are important. I get it. Looks are important for men.
Yeah.
Men looks are important, but I don't think it's like that with women. And with men, I think she can be gorgeous, but a lot of times, and this has just been my experience, very attractive women, and I really don't want to say this, they just aren't a lot of times good people.
Yeah.
That's been my experience as a man.
I totally understand that. I have met females on a platonic level who they were gorgeous, but they had the worst personality to where I was like, girl, like, I don't even want to be friends with you. Like, your vibe is horrible.
Yeah.
So I totally understand that. And like I said, one of my best guy friends, he's single and he tells me about the women that he runs into. And I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
Like, Men have it just as hard as women.
Yeah.
Like women, I don't think they really understand that, especially
Unless they're gay studs. If you ever watch gay women talk, the studs, they complain. They like, I understand what men go through.
yeah,
They be like, this
absolutely,
is
yeah,
ridiculous. But go ahead.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Some women are they're just a lot, and they
Yeah.
have unrealistic expectations.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not her. Like I'm not that girl. Like I don't have unrealistic expectations at all. So I get it. But I think also when it comes to dating, people do put an emphasis on how you look.
Yeah.
And because I've had men who automatically looked at me and assumed that I dated a certain type of
Yeah.
man just based upon how I looked.
You only date light skinned men because you're dark skinned.
That was one,
Yeah.
which is not true at all.
Yeah.
Or they figured that I would never date a man who was just a regular blue collar worker or whatever. And I'm like, I go to work every day.
Yeah.
Like I take care of myself. So it's not like I'm looking for someone to take care of me. So don't assume that just based upon the way that I look.
Yeah.
Or the type of car that you drive or the places that you go, the things that
Yeah.
you do, they automatically have assumptions. And I'm like, bro, you don't even know me.
Yeah.
Like, you're not even giving yourself a chance to know me because you've already had
Yep.
all of these assumptions about me and you don't even get to know me. And then I had a man, it was so funny. I was at a bar and he assumed that I was in a relationship just based upon how I looked. I thought he was very attractive. So I sent him a drink. And he said, I've never had a woman send me a drink. And I was like, I didn't know how else to get your attention. So that's just what I did.
Yeah.
And he said, yeah, I would have never assumed that you were that type of woman. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he's, yeah, I just would have never, by looking at you, never assumed one, that you're single, two, that you would spend some money on me. I was like, it's a drink.
Yeah.
It's like $14.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's just a drink. And he, of course, had literally all these assumptions simply based upon how I look.
How you look.
And
Yeah.
then when he actually got to know me, he was like, oh, wow, you're actually cool as fuck. And I was like, yeah, like just because I look like this doesn't mean that I'm a certain way. Like I definitely look this way, but that doesn't mean I'm that way
Yeah.
with all the other women that may look like me who are a certain way. I'm just not like that. So, yeah. Just don't.
Men definitely will assume that about attractive women, that there's not a chance. And then you have the dudes who O'Shea calls holla monsters, who they don't care what you look like. They're going to shoot their shot. I know I got no chance in hell. And a guy told me a while ago, he was like, a lot of times, and this is a man's perspective, I know, but you never know. He's like, the woman that you think that will reject you and you're scared to go and talk to or even say hello to, is probably the one woman that's really nice and going to give you the time of day and maybe talk to you. But some dudes get caught, as you said, this guy or some people, they invent a whole storyline in the future of what she's going to potentially do. And none of that happens. A lot of dudes think that a woman's going to bite their head off, or what did they say to me, JR? It's called a nuclear rejection. That was something new I just learned a few months ago.
I've never heard that.
And I did a skit. It's on my. If you ever watch my Instagram, I got my 3 skits at the top, and there's one of me walking in the club, and my inner voice is talking to me.
Okay.
And and he's talking to me, and I said, don't go talk to any women tonight. Let them come to you. If you do go and talk to these women, it's going to be a nuclear rejection. She's going to go off, and you're going to catch a felony.
Oh, wow.
Just by talking to her, she's going to call the police. You're going to get arrested and catch a felony. That's what these men are pushing now, which is sad. They're saying now, if you approach a woman, you're considered a simp. It's that serious out here now, where if you approach a woman, you're considered a simp. But it's refreshing. Y'all heard what Mia just said. It's refreshing to hear a woman say this, and the fact that she sent a guy a drink, and it's not. And you have another sector of guys who think that they won't approach a woman, but if a woman approaches them, it's considered masculine. So what are you going to do? What do you do?
Yeah, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't.
So it's just a bunch of weirdos out here in terms of that. But I just say you never know, guys. It's like sales. You have to get through the no's to get to the yeses, because you never know what somebody's going through. You never know who you could meet. So I say never cheat yourself out of what could be a
Exactly.
great experience.
I mean, you miss 100% of shots you don't
100. 100. So speaking of that, we're going to segue into what made you viral here not too long ago. So give me a backstory on this gentleman. How did you meet this guy?
take. So I met him on Facebook dating.
Okay. So you rock with Facebook dating? I met a
Not
couple
anymore.
people.
After
Yeah.
that.
Okay.
I was like, okay.
I think you're like the third or fourth person that been on Facebook dating. But go ahead. Yeah.
So I met him on there, and like I said, we talked for 2 weeks back and forth before we even exchanged numbers and set up a date. And the only reason why it took 2 weeks is because I don't like to give out my number unless I know there's potential for some type of connection. Because like I don't want to just sit on the phone with you and we just sitting on the phone. Like you need to be able to have a conversation.
Some women don't want to even give out their number. Like when you're online dating,
Yeah,
they'll
I
be
know.
like, I'm like, what would be the difference between me asking you face to face?
Exactly. It's no difference.
Yeah, let's chat like for 2 more weeks before I give you my number.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, but anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, so like we chatted back and forth and it was great conversation, like literally great exchanges. He was funny. Everything was
Never
all
video
good.
chatted.
We did video
Okay,
chat.
go ahead.
So after we exchanged phone numbers, we started having phone conversations and they were like, the first time we talked on the phone, we were actually on the phone for 2 hours. And that is rare.
Too long, but way too long. Yeah.
Rare for
The
me.
phone is for setting up dates. But go
Like
ahead.
I literally don't even like being on the phone that
Yeah.
long. But we just instantly then he was out of town. And then when he came back in town, I actually was leaving to go out of town for a work trip. So I was gone a whole week.
Okay.
So that's why we didn't meet within that time frame because he was out of town. Then when he got back in town, I was actually leaving to go out of town. But even within that time, we still chatted every single day. We video chatted. We're like on video chat, like I'm in my hotel room. I can't remember what state I was in at that point. But like we're video chatting, like literally just chatting away. Everything was on point. Like great conversation. He looked like his pictures. I looked like mine.
Yeah.
Everything was good. And so then we scheduled our date for that Saturday because I was coming home Thursday and I knew I was going to be exhausted to go out Friday night. So we scheduled it for Saturday.
Okay.
And again, we still talked the whole time. Everything was all good. And that Saturday morning, I had talked to him while I went to, my friend was in a chili competition. So I went.
A what competition?
A chili
She was
competition.
making some chili? Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead. I'm sorry.
So I went to the chili competition and I talked to him as I was on my way there. And he scheduled the date for 6:30. And I was like, oh my God, that's like super early. Can you see if they can move the reservations to 7:30? I just need a little bit more time because I still had to come home and get dressed from being out at the chili competition or whatever. So he said, hey, I tried. They can't move the reservations till 7:30.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, cool. I'll make it work. So we're talking the whole time while I'm at the chili competition. I'm sending him pictures and videos of everything.
And this is on Saturday?
This is on Saturday.
Okay.
So I leave the chili competition. I go home, take a shower. I take a nap because I'm tired. So he had texted me while I was asleep.
Yeah.
And so I kept the text messages because I wanted to show, because I know a lot of people thought I was capping.
Yeah.
I was not capping. So I woke up. I seen his text message. I responded to the text message. And then I started getting dressed to head to the restaurant. So I get to the restaurant and I walk in. I say his last name. They're like, could it be under another name? I say his first name. They're looking. They're like, oh, okay. So then the girl is like, they're looking on the monitor or whatever. And then she calls her friend over. And so then her friend comes over and she's, what was the last name again? So I said his last name. And they're like, oh, that reservation was canceled. I'm like, oh, okay. So in my mind, I'm thinking, oh God, they canceled the reservation accidentally because he was trying to move it to a different time.
Yeah.
That's the only thought that was in my mind.
Positive thoughts.
Right.
Yeah.
So I walk outside of the restaurant. I call him. It immediately goes to voicemail. So I'm like, okay, let me shoot him a text message. So I'm going to show you, like literally, you can see this is our communication, no bad communication. And you can see I text him and said, hey, reservation was canceled. There's no weird text messages in between. It's normal conversation. And so I text him, no response. I call him again, but the second time I called him, I realized this is the block voicemail that you get because it's not his normal voicemail.
Yeah.
And so then I'm like, he blocked me. So then I go on Facebook dating and he's also unmatched me. And so then I'm sitting there and I'm like, he stood me up.
Yeah.
Like, he legit stood me up. And I'm like clueless because there was nothing that happened to make me think that this man would ever stand me up or that something was wrong, that he wasn't going to show up. Everything was normal. We had normal conversations. And so I sat there and I'm like, I just got stood up. So I was like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
So I called one of my girlfriends and she was shocked that I called her because she knew I was going on a date with him. And I was actually excited for this date. This was the first date that I was actually going on in 6 months.
And you've been talking to him for 2 weeks. But
yeah, so I'm like excited. And I'm talking to my friend. I was like, yeah, he just stood me up. She was like, wait, what? I'm like, yeah. And so I tell her everything. I don't know what to say. I was like, I don't either. And I was like, I guess I'm going to go to dinner now because I'm dressed and I need to eat. And so the restaurant had a 2-hour wait time. There was no seats at the bar. So I was like, all right, I'm just going to go somewhere else and eat. So I went to another restaurant, sat at the bar, had a couple drinks, had dinner. And I was sitting there and just like replaying everything in my head.
Because you do that. Yeah.
What happened?
Yep.
And I couldn't come up with anything. And I was like, I'm going to make a TikTok about it. And I literally was walking out of the restaurant and I literally just started recording and talking. And I just uploaded it and didn't even think about it. Did not think that it was going to turn into what it has turned into at all. And I woke up the next day and I was like, oh shit, wow.
Yeah.
It has blown up. And so everyone has been like, I've had some, mainly guys, but only a couple who definitely blamed me and said I did something and definitely said I was expecting him to take me to an expensive restaurant, all of this. And I'm like, that's not the case.
Yeah.
He picked the restaurant.
Yep.
I never pick the restaurant. I always let the guy pick just because I don't want a guy to think that I picked this restaurant that I can't even take myself to.
It should be the guy anyway. You should never ask a woman where she wants to go at. In my opinion, you're taking a woman out, you know.
I agree. So that was not the case. It's not like I picked STK Market or anything like that. He picked the restaurant and literally nothing happened to where I thought he was going to stand
Right.
because we had normal conversation all day long. Nothing was weird.
Yeah.
And he just stood me up.
What do you think? What do you think was the reason why he did it?
I honestly
Don't know.
I don't know. Like, I literally replayed the conversation that we had while I was on my way to the chili thing. It was normal conversation. Like, he was telling me he was going to go walk his dog, everything. So I honestly am clueless as to why he didn't show up. Like, I literally can't. I've been racking my brain trying to think about it. And I don't know.
Yeah. It's weird. And I know for those of you who don't know, I did a reaction video to Mia's video. I don't know how far apart because I don't really check the dates a lot of times on when the person posted their video. It'll just come up on my For You page or whatever have you. Because I don't think it was on WorldStar. I think it came up on my For You page. And then I watched the beginning of it and I thought it was kind of interesting, right up my alley. So that's why I gave my commentary on it. And people just, either you got some guys who try to do the whole revenge thing somehow to get some type of, because I did a similar video where it was a content creator. I think she did like gaming maybe. And one of her fans reached out to her and said he wanted to take her on a trip to Puerto Rico and all this, and he would pay for it for her birthday. And she was like, okay, cool. So they conversing back and forth for a month, 2 months. And even up to the night prior, she paid for her own ticket, but he said he would take care of everything. Night prior, all is well. They talking. She's texting them back and forth, and she said they FaceTimed and everything several times or whatever. And then they were in different time zones, so she left before he did, and she got to.
So again, everyone says something happened.
Yeah,
Nothing happened.
nothing happened.
I don't know why he stood me up. He's never contacted me, and I just never expected it
Right.
to happen. And what I found interesting was when you stitched the video was your perspective on it. Again, most of the gentlemen were super kind, super nice, and had a lot of positive things to say. Of course, there was a couple,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
had something smart to say, whatever. But it came out of nowhere. I literally would have never expected this to happen.
yeah,
And everything happens for a reason, and it's fine, but it was just shocking that people just do this.
yeah, yeah.
That's what's shocking, is that people legit just stand people up all the time.
Yeah,
And I have personally have never stood anyone up ever. I always cancel if I'm not going to make it. I really was dumbfounded that this happened to me, and not that it happened to me because I'm better than anyone
Yeah.
else. That's not the case. It was just nothing happened for it to end in this way. That's what was the most shocking. I could see if we had argued or there was a bad vibe. It was none of that. So it was just yeah, he just not gonna come.
yeah. Yeah, that's crazy. I think that's what it was, that story, and I'm gonna finish this up. She went to Puerto Rico. I guess what I was saying. She went to Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
She went to Puerto Rico, and he blocked her. She was calling when she got at the airport. He didn't respond. Calling, she was like, maybe he's on the plane coming here, because they flew on different planes. And calling all throughout the night. He blocked her on everything, and that was that. And I was like, sounds like he maybe was trying to teach her a lesson or something. But I don't understand why people do stuff like that in
Right.
terms of it's just weird when there's no, because you go through your mind and you try to analyze, okay, what did I do? What could I have done? Did I say something? Did I do something? Some people just, I don't understand. And I know I was telling you offline, and I know there's two different things between completely ghosting, not texting, or basically just flaking last minute.
Right.
I think in the case with what I was explaining to you, that happens to me constantly, is flaking. Basically the day of or a couple hours prior, hey, not gonna make it, can't do this, so on and so forth. And it happens a lot to men. That's why I feel like as a man, you always got to have a backup plan and a backup plan and a backup plan. And that's how I think a lot of times, because I think I had two women flake on me on the same day. I had 2 dates planned, and they both told me that morning, and I did a story time on this. They both flaked on me that morning. They both contacted me and was like, hey, I can't make it. And I'm just like, yo. So I always have had to have a backup plan, because, and it's not to be negative, but it's just to assume that a woman's not going to make it.
Yeah.
And it's weird. I've only done that to a woman, I think, one time. And she wanted to do like our first date at a gym or whatever. And I had a date that night with a woman, and she ended up spending the night. So I wasn't about to get up 5 o'clock in the morning to go to a gym. So that was just that. But I know for some women, I think a lot of times, and I say this to women, and this goes along with the conversation we were having earlier about women tend to not have a scarcity mindset. And I say that to say is that you'll never be lonely, for lack of a better term. If you are ever lonely, especially in the age of social media, you can just open up your Instagram
Right.
and slide down, pick this guy. Hey, would you like to talk on the phone? Hey, are you free? Yeah, I'm free. And she can literally have this guy, or same thing with dates a lot of times. Hey, I was in the mood for such and such. Oh yeah, da, da, da. And he a lot of times will ask you or be available to take you on a date. As far as a woman, you always have the opportunity to not be lonely or to converse with people at any given moment. Some women will disagree, but a lot of times if you're a decent looking woman or fairly attractive, it's not a big deal. A man can't do that. Same thing with sex. A woman can walk out. You could walk out of here right now and just wait around the lobby and just stop any guy and just be like, hey, would you like to have sex? Hell yeah. A man can't do that. And I'm not saying women don't have hard lives. I'm not
Right.
saying that at all, because women have their own set of problems. But that ghosting stuff, man, that I have an issue with that. I have an issue with communication. I think it's very weak, but a lot of people, in your case, I don't know what the hell that was. But a lot
Nobody
of people,
does.
yeah, a lot of people don't want conflict, or you saw the guy, which is weird. You guys looked at each other and had conversations on video
Yeah.
chat.
Yeah.
So that, it just doesn't make sense. I can see if you guys never video chatted and they were just like, maybe the way I look or whatever, maybe I was just capping, just wanted somebody to talk to, whatever like that. But damn, yeah, I don't know. But for men, like I was telling you offline, it does happen a lot, and I've done several story times of mine about me being flaked on. I guess in the most cases, if I wouldn't have contacted them on that day, I wouldn't have heard anything.
Wow.
If I would have been like, "Hey, are we still good?" And that whole message, "Oh, I completely forgot. Something came up." Da 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 da. And if it wasn't for that message, I wouldn't have heard anything. But that's happened. That's happened a lot. That's why I was saying I should have created or create like something like that, just to do an experiment,
Yeah.
just to show, because people will say my life has been like a movie. So a lot of the stuff that I say is unbelievable. But if I actually do an experiment and show, just like how you just showed me your text messages from that guy, if I just did an experiment and just showed this and be like, damn, well, that really is.
It's true. Like,
Yeah.
it's real. Like, it's totally real. And that's why I literally kept that text message when I booked the show. I was like, I'm going to show you.
Yeah.
Because not everyone,
Yeah.
a couple of guys kept saying, nah, something happened. I'm like, nothing happened. There's nothing there. You can see in the text messages, you seen the thread. It was normal, fine text messages, nothing crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, he just decided not to show up.
Have you had any guys ask you out from that video?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. How many, if you were to quantify it? Yeah.
Maybe 15.
Really?
Yeah.
Man, that's the silver lining right there, unless they were all dusty looking or whatever.
I mean, I didn't do the video
I know
for
that.
that
Yeah.
attention.
Yeah.
And a lot of people assume that I did this video to get attention
Mm-hmm.
from guys. That was absolutely not the reason why I did this video. I'm just now starting my content creator
Yeah.
journey, and I just wanted to get more comfortable with recording my voice and things like that. So I literally was like, why not? This is a perfect opportunity for me to just go ahead and record a video. So I did it solely for that purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not like desperate for a date. And if the right guy approaches me and wants to ask me out in a nice, respectful manner, then of course I will gladly go out on a date. But just because I posted that video doesn't mean that I'm desperate
Yeah.
and that I'm looking for somebody to take me out.
Yeah,
Just
I didn't
because.
take it that way. I know
I've
you said
gotten
some guys
messages
are.
from that.
Well, I want you to understand in this space, you could make the most positive video, and a man or a woman, but in this case, you got dudes. A man's gonna say something negative about it.
Yeah,
It could be the most
absolutely.
positive video, and I didn't see anything wrong with you doing that video. It was your experience.
Yeah.
For them to blame it on you is just, there's a sector of guys called incels
Yeah.
who are just angry at women just
Yeah.
for women being women. There's a video I have, it's on Instagram. It's been going viral for like weeks now. And this guy got rejected at a Starbucks. He's a little nerdy looking white guy. He tried to talk to a woman and she just wasn't feeling him. And she just was like, a lot of the guys was like, your mistake was talking to a woman. And I saw one comment, I meant to screenshot it today. I saw one comment today. Yeah, if you would have talked to a man, you wouldn't have had that same experience. I'm just like, there are weirdos out here.
Yeah.
It was so many comments that said, your mistake was talking to a woman.
That's insane.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm saying that to you so you can understand the type of people that are out here.
Oh yeah.
So,
yeah,
you know.
I totally get it. And that's why, like I said, 95% of the men have been like super encouraging, super nice, super respectful. There's maybe been 5% where they have definitely said something was wrong with me, blah, 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 whatever. And I made rebuttals to their comments because I have no problem engaging and I
Yeah.
have no problem with being effective in my communication.
Yeah.
And I'm not ashamed of anything. So if there's a question you want to ask me, I'll gladly give you the answer.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people were actually shocked that I did
Yeah.
answer some of these questions. But I'm like, I posted this video, so I put myself out
Absolutely.
there. So I shouldn't be shocked or afraid to answer any of these questions or to interact with any of these people that have a comment to say about it. Like, it was me who put myself out there. And if you want to comment about it, then you should be able to handle my rebuttal to your conversation. And there was one gentleman who I think he just didn't have anything else to do. And I think he thought that I was going to back down.
Yeah.
And I came at him. I was like, you want to go toe for toe, blow for blow? Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's get it. So, yeah. And I'm genuinely a nice person, and I'm a genuinely good person. And shit just happens. And that's just the way I look at it.
That's life, man. It shit happens. No one's immune to shit happening. So whether you're a good person or bad person.
Yeah.
There was a second part I forgot because I did that first video and another video on the same video.
Yeah.
And I think were you responding to someone on the second part?
Yeah, I was responding to a lot of the comments. There was so many comments, and I was just trying to go through and respond to some of the comments about there. Because, someone, I think it was someone on your YouTube channel who said, oh, she's pressed. She made all these videos. No, I was responding to the people. Like, I was giving the people what they wanted to know more about it. So I was literally responding to the videos. I wasn't pressed. Like, I didn't cry. Like, I was just shocked that it happened. So no, it's not. It turned into something I didn't expect.
Yeah.
And so I just rolled with the punches of responding to all the questions and comments.
Yeah. You're a content creator, so you see people on TikTok all the time responding in video format to things, and they'll highlight the comment and respond with the video.
Yeah.
I wouldn't put too much stock into any of that. But just so you know, it does happen to men very often. It's a frequent thing, and I do agree. And just like the conversation we had offline, it's just anybody who disrespects your time or doesn't appreciate your time is disrespecting you.
Absolutely.
And you should take it as such, that this person is disrespecting me and doesn't really care about me at the end of the day. So that should be the end of that, your interaction with that person, I'm gonna finish this up with just a question about Atlanta. Since we're talking about dating, where's the best places to meet people in Atlanta? It doesn't have to be specific places, but if you want to, you can mention specific places. In your opinion, where are the best places to meet people in Atlanta?
So that's the issue for me.
Yeah.
Is because I don't go out a lot.
Right.
I don't hang out. I don't party. I don't do any of that anymore. Like I said, I did it all in my 20s. So meeting people online is actually the easiest for me because everyone's, why are you online? I'm like, I don't go out a lot. And I do, like, I'll go to dinner or whatever. But contrary to what a lot of people assume, I very rarely get approached by men when I'm out. And I've been told that I'm intimidating, that they assume that I'm in a relationship just solely based upon how I look. So it's not often that I get approached by men while I'm out.
I hear a lot of attractive women say that.
Yeah, it's
weird.
real.
It's weird.
It's very weird, but it's true. So I actually don't know where to meet people out on a regular because I don't go out that much. And when I am out, I hardly ever get approached. Like, if I'm out, I may get approached once if I'm out. It's not very often. I get hit on more when I am either leaving the gym, in the grocery store, just like disgusting from working out.
That's the best place to approach women.
Yeah, and like, so I will get hit on more in that instance than when I'm out at a club or a lounge or a bar or something like that. So I honestly don't know where to meet people at because I don't really meet people that much when I'm out.
Yeah. I had Mr. Let Go. I don't know if you know who that is. Have you heard of him? Okay, so he's a content creator also. And I asked every guest on the show here, who's obviously been living in Atlanta for some time, that question. And he says, and that's in response to you saying the grocery store, gym, which a lot of women are like, I'm not trying to copy what you're saying. A lot of women are like, I don't understand, because you always hear women complain about this. Why do guys always approach me when I'm not looking my best, and why when I could be at the grocery store or I'm in sweats and I'm looking dusty, they always want to approach me, as opposed to when I get dolled up and
And I respect that, because if you can take me after the gym, then I know you gonna like me when I get
Right.
myself together. So
Right.
I'm actually fine with that. I have no problem with that, because like when I go to the gym, like I actually go to work out. I don't wear makeup to the gym.
Yeah.
Like I look a hot ass mess when I leave the gym,
This is
because
work.
I'm there actually working out.
Yeah.
Versus people who are there to be cute,
To be pretty,
or whatever.
yeah.
That's not me. So if you're approaching me after I've just left the gym, cool. It's a win, because you're really going to appreciate me when I actually get dressed to meet you out.
Right.
So I don't take offense to that or anything.
What he said, which I agree with him, when you're in a club or bar scene, a woman is expecting to be approached at these places a lot of times. It's not strange to approach a woman at a club or a bar, and she's expecting not one but multiple guys, as opposed to catching her at the gas station, at the pump, or in line at the grocery store. She may not necessarily be expecting it. I'm not saying her guard is down, but she's almost more willing to communicate with you on an even level, as opposed to in the club, she's up here and you're down here.
Right.
And that was a conversation me and him were having about that, which I feel the same way, because I feel like once a woman enters that environment of her having expectations of being approached, she's dolled up. She's already perceived at this level, and you're here in the same place. It's different, and especially she may be with her friends, which could influence the way she acts or reacts to you, as opposed to her just being by herself. So I think that a lot of men do tend to have more success outside of those bars and clubs. But I know that's not really answering the question. That's not really getting into the question, because I know, but you did answer it. You know, you don't go out like that, or you
I
don't
don't
go to those places. So I can definitely respect that. But I think that part, as far as what you mentioned, the grocery store and all that, that's probably why dudes, it happens more often than actually a club or bar scene, because some dudes, I don't know, that's a whole nother thing in itself. All in all, what's your thoughts on Atlanta now?
I love Atlanta. It's been my home for 25 years, but I do think that the dating scene and just the vibe in general has shifted into a manner that I just don't think is great. It's definitely a lot more materialistic than it used to be. The aesthetics are very much BBL, this and that.
Shout out to the BBLs.
It's just, I don't knock anybody for getting their body done. I personally, I don't have that aesthetic. And I've had guys like mention that, and I'm like,
You've had to mention what?
yeah.
Mention
they're like, oh, you have more of a white girl body than a black girl body. I'm like,
You had men say that to you?
yeah. That's a whole nother subject.
Okay.
Like that's we could have a whole nother story time about that. But yeah, so I think it has definitely shifted into more that type of aesthetic and more of that look, to where people don't really know how to engage on just a normal level. And that's just kind of what I don't like about Atlanta, but I love the opportunities that it has for people of color, especially for women and things like that. We can definitely create our own lives and create our own wealth and things of that nature. So Atlanta's great for that. I just think the dating scene is definitely a little muddled, to say the sense. I think a lot of people, like I said, have unrealistic expectations of what a relationship and a partnership looks like, just because they're looking at like the Real Housewives of Atlanta and all of these things. And that's not an everyday reality. And that's not your reality unless you're in that position. So you can't mimic your life to look like that unless you have that type of wealth and that type of money to put yourself in that situation. And so I think it deters a lot of relationships and causes a lot of issues, because people think that's what a normal relationship looks like, and that's not a normal relationship.
Right. Said. So for people who may be interested in viewing your content, where can they find you at?
So my handle's the same on all of the platforms, on TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, YouTube. It's all the same handle. It is MISBARBYEE. So you can find me on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Snapchat. I'm not very involved on X or Twitter or whatever it is called now. not on that platform, but you can definitely see me on TikTok a lot more. I'm definitely post a lot more on there and also on Instagram.
Got you. And I'll have all of her information in the description of this video as well, so you guys can check out Miss Ward here. And any final words? I always be saying that to people. Any last words?
Yeah, my message is that treat people with kindness.
Yeah.
I always like to treat people the way that I want to be treated. And that's just literally my general message. And for people, not just women, but people in general, to know that they are worthy, they are loved, and that they deserve the best. And even if no one else gives you your best, give it to yourself.
Said self-love, all that. Self-love and positivity.
Absolutely.
That's been dope. I appreciate you coming on the show and revealing so much, especially I learned some things this evening. That we got some guys, you heard her, she mentioned to do with the boxers. That's some ill-ish right there. So for you guys who like, man, I don't even taking my socks off. Hey, this dude didn't like taking his underwear off, and you think you a Superman? Anyway, guys, this has been great. Another episode of the Atlanta Noire podcast. If you guys are in the Atlanta area, if you're interested in being on the show, click the link below. I'll be glad to hear from you. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. Follow Miss Ward on all the handles here in the description. Follow me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Much blessings and abundance. Stick around for the next videos. It's going to pop up on the screen below. That's where I'm going to see you guys at, man. Listen, it's your favorite everything. This is wisdom. The best. Let's run it up to 1 million. Quit playing with me. Peace. You guys be easy.